Hello and welcome. So today we're diving into a brilliant one-act play by Ferenc Molnar called A Matter of Husbands. It's a short, sharp story that is absolutely packed with jealousy, some Oscar-worthy performances, and a twist ending that, well, you probably won't see it coming. Let's jump right in. So our story kicks off in the exotic and kind of suggestive drawing room of a famous actress. And right away, the scene is tense. Why? Because she's being confronted by a very, very distressed, earnest young woman who has clearly shown up with one thing on her mind. And this young woman, she does not waste any time. The confrontation is immediate. It's raw. With a voice just full of emotion, she makes this desperate plea straight to the actress. Give me back my husband. What a bold, heartbreaking way to start a story, right? So, who is this husband we're talking about? Well, his name is Alfred. He's a lawyer who, at least according to his wife, has fallen completely under the actress's spell. But the famous actress, oh, she plays it so cool. She pretends she has no idea what's going on, claiming she barely even remembers the guy from some contract work he did for her. But see, the earnest young woman, she came prepared. This isn't just a suspicion. Oh no, she believes she has cold, hard proof of the affair. So let's see the case she's about to build. First piece of evidence, flowers. The wife has done her homework here. She actually confirmed with the florist that flowers are sent twice a week to the actress's dressing room, and it's all charged to Alfred's account. The actress, though, she flat out denies it, says she's never received a single one. And now for the real bombshell. The wife pulls out a letter she found on Alfred's desk. It's short, it's affectionate, and to her, it is absolutely damning proof. And the actress's response to seeing it, just a simple, oh. It's so perfectly ambiguous, it's brilliant. And this right here really gets to the heart of the wife's despair. She feels like she just can't compete. On one side, you have her simple, plain in her own eyes. And on the other, you have this actress, this glamorous illusion put together with fancy costumes, makeup, and lines written by geniuses like Shakespeare. How is reality supposed to compete with that kind of stagecraft? Okay, this is the turning point. This is where everything shifts. The actress stops denying everything and starts the performance of a lifetime. But instead of defending herself, she goes on the offense, but not in the way you'd think. She completely takes control of the story. And wow, what a strategy it is. First, she frames the whole situation as a typical case she's seen a million times. Then, she suggests a totally new motive. She claims Alfred isn't trying to leave his wife. He's actually staging this entire fake affair as a desperate, dramatic plan to win her love back by making her jealous. In one incredible move, she turns all the evidence into nothing more than props in his little play. It is an absolutely brilliant reversal. Then the actress just masterfully tears apart the evidence, piece by piece. That letter left on the desk, she kind of scoffs at it, arguing, trust a lawyer never to do that unintentionally. She says it was obviously meant to be found. And the flowers? Probably ordered and then canceled right away. A prop that never even made it to the stage. It's a true masterclass in spin. She calls this whole manufactured jealousy thing one of the oldest expedients in the world, a trick that men in the theater use all the time. She even has an answer for the lock of hair, claiming men are constantly bribing her hairdresser for a snippet to use in their own little dramas at home. So, the big question is, did this completely unbelievable story actually work? Let's take a look at what happened after the actress's incredible performance. Oh, she buys it. Hook, line, and sinker. The young woman's entire personality just flips. The heartbroken accuser completely transforms into this relieved, happy, maybe slightly embarrassed wife who now sees her husband not as a cheat, but as some kind of romantic genius. She leaves, just overflowing with gratitude, even kissing the actress's hand on her way out the door. She rushes home, so excited to see her clever husband. And for us, the audience, it feels like we've got a neat, if kind of weird, resolution. But wait. This is a play by Ferenc Molnar. The curtain hasn't quite fallen just yet. There is one final, absolutely devastating twist to come. So once the young woman is gone, the actress doesn't look relieved or triumphant or anything. She just waits a moment, a perfect little pause, and then walks calmly over to the door of her private bedroom. And then she delivers the last killer line of the play. She calls toward her private room. "All right, Alfred, you can come in now. She has gone." And just like that, the husband emerges, and the entire performance is exposed for what it was: a brilliant, calculated lie to cover up a very, very real affair. So the key takeaway is this arc, right? It all starts with a raw emotional accusation. That accusation is met with an even more elaborate performance. This performance leads to a totally false resolution that makes the wife happy, only to end with a shocking reveal for us, the audience. In the end, the deception wins. This play just brilliantly explores this idea of life being a stage. The actress's greatest performance wasn't for a paying crowd in a theater. It was for an audience of one, the distraught wife. And it leaves us with this fascinating question. When we perform in our own lives, who is our real audience?
All right, today we're going to dive into a really powerful one-act play by August Strindberg called Facing Death. It's a stark, intense story that gets right into the heart of family, failure, and the harrowing lengths a father will go to for his children.
So, let's just start with a big question. What is the ultimate price of love? I mean, really, think about it. Is it sacrifice? Is it just enduring pain for someone else? Strindberg's play, it forces us to confront this question head-on, in a situation where love and money have become just tragically tangled together.
Okay, so the whole play is set in this bankrupt Swiss lodge, and it's run by a man named Monsieur Durand. He's a widower, a former railroad worker, and he's living there with his 3 daughters, Adele, Annette, and Therese. And you can probably guess, the atmosphere is, it's anything but happy. This family is right on the brink of total collapse. So let's step into the world of this play, which we can really just call the House of Ruin. And this isn't just about a physical building. It's the state of their lives. It's all defined by a father's quiet, mounting desperation. So the grim reality for the Durand family is, this is it. They've hit a dead end. They are completely out of money. They're drowning in debt. And the local shops, they've cut them off. No more credit for bread or meat. Starvation isn't some far-off threat. It is literally knocking at their door.
And right at the center of this whole storm is Monsieur Durand. He's not a king, he's not some nobleman, he's just an everyday guy, a former railroad worker trying to make ends meet. And despite this crushing poverty and the constant rejection he faces, from his own family no less, his one single-minded focus is on securing a future for his daughters. He is the play's tragic, suffering heart.
But, the money problems are really only half the story. The real tragedy here is the emotional one, which builds what you could call a wall of contempt right inside the family. This family isn't just poor. It is fundamentally broken and completely divided against itself.
Yeah, the family is just split right down the middle. On one side, you've got Monsieur Durand, and he's driven by this selfless, if totally desperate love. And on the other side, you have his daughters. They don't see a loving father. All they see is the man they blame for their ruin, and they show him nothing but pure contempt.
So you have to ask, how did it get this bad? Well, the source material really puts it perfectly. Money is the pivotal factor that ends up shaping their relationships. That financial instability, it's just bred conflict and resentment, poisoning the entire household and turning the family against their own father. So facing financial ruin and, frankly, total emotional abandonment, Monsieur Durand feels like he has only one move left to make. He's been backed into a corner, and so he comes up with this final, chilling plan, the final gambit.
His entire plan hinges on this one thing, a fire insurance policy, and it's worth 5,000 francs. To him, this is not just some piece of paper. It's the only legacy he can possibly leave his daughters. It's their only chance for survival, the only way he feels he can provide for them after he's gone.
And here is the terrible, twisted logic of his sacrifice. He makes the calculated decision to end his own life. And the method, it's horrific. He's going to drink poison and then set the house on fire, all to make his death look like an accident. But the motive, that's what elevates this from a simple tragedy to something so much more complex. He's doing it all so his daughters can collect the insurance money and finally escape their poverty.
Okay, now that we understand the story's grim setup, let's pull back a bit and really analyze what it all means. It's time for us to deconstruct this tragedy and take a look at the bigger ideas at play here.
Strindberg packs a lot into this very short play. The most obvious theme, of course, is paternal sacrifice. We've also seen how money just acts as this corrupting, dividing force. But what's really key to understanding this work are these two literary concepts: modern tragedy and naturalism.
So what makes this a modern tragedy? Well, unlike those classic tragedies you might think of, with kings and heroes, this play focuses on a common man, Monsieur Durand. His downfall isn't caused by some angry god or a fatal flaw in his character. It's caused by real-world problems, socioeconomic pressure, and family conflict. It's a tragedy that could happen to anyone, and that's what makes it so powerful.
At the end of the day, despite the absolute horror of his plan, the play frames Durand's final act as one of profound love. His choice to die is presented as the ultimate proof of his selfless devotion as a father. It's a dark and twisted expression of love, for sure, but in his mind, it's the only one he has left.
And that leaves us with one final, haunting question to think about. Is this story truly about the ultimate sacrifice born from love? Or is it about a man so utterly broken by life, so completely crushed by despair, that death becomes his only viable escape? Strindberg doesn't give us an easy answer, and he leaves us to weigh the price of love in a world that can be terribly, terrible.
Today, we're going to break down an absolute masterpiece of Nepali satire, a one-act play called The Bull. Okay, just imagine this for a second. What if your job, your life, depended on keeping a dead bull alive? Or at least convincing your crazy powerful boss that his favorite bull, which is very, very dead, is actually totally fine. Sounds nuts, right? Well, that's the wild, high-stakes world we're about to jump into. All right, let's get into it. This brilliantly sharp play was written by an amazing Nepali writer, Bhim Nidhi Tiwari, and he sets the whole thing way back in 18th century Nepal during a pretty interesting time. So, the story centers on this king, King Rana Bahadur Shah. And get this, he was a real person, and his obsession with bulls, totally legendary. I mean, the guy loved his bulls so much, he built this enormous pasture for them. And here's a crazy little piece of trivia for you. That pasture is where Kathmandu's international airport is today. Yeah, just shows you how a king's personal quirks can literally shape a country. Now, here's where things get complicated. The king didn't just like his bulls, he was completely obsessed. He made this terrifying rule: if you come to me and tell me one of my bulls died, you're going to get your head shaved in public. And that's if you're lucky. The alternative? Well, let's just say it involves a beheading. So yeah, the stakes are pretty high. Okay, so you can probably guess what happens next, right? This is where the whole story kicks off. The king's #1 absolute favorite bull, a prized animal named Male, is dead. And who finds the body? Two poor cowherds, Gore and Jitman. They are, as you can imagine, totally freaking out. They sprint over to the house of a guy named Laxmanarayan. He's a court official, but he's also kind of the royal bull doctor. These guys know they're in serious, serious trouble. So while Gore and Jitman are panicking, Laxmanarayan's mind starts racing. He's a clever guy, and he comes up with this genius 4-step plan. The most important part? #1, do not say the bull is dead. The whole idea is to get the king to be the one to say it. They're going to stage a whole performance to make it happen. And now we get to the best part of the play, the royal performance. This is basically a life-or-death theatrical show all put on for the king himself. Okay, to pull this off, Laxmanarayan uses a very specific cultural practice called chakari. Think of it as extreme sycophancy. It's all about gaining favor with a ruler through just over-the-top flattery, not actual hard work. It's a key part of his plan.
Laxmanarayan says the king that the bull isn't dead. Oh no, he says the bull is meditating. Yep, meditating. He told him the bull was so spiritual it had stopped eating and moving. The king completely bought it and had to see it for himself. And just like that, the responsibility was no longer on their shoulders.
Picture this scene at the cowshed. Gore is there fanning the dead bull. Jitman is massaging its feet. They are putting on the performance of a lifetime, trying to make it look like they're nursing a sick animal back to health. It's absolutely brilliant. So the king shows up, all concerned. He tries to feed the bull a banana. Nothing. He checks its ears, its tail, still nothing. And then, finally, the king himself says the words they were all terrified to say. And the second the king says it, bam, The cowherds just erupt into this totally fake, completely theatrical grief. They're wailing, they're crying, they're throwing themselves onto the dead bull. They're so dramatic, they actually earn the king's sympathy and even his praise for being so loyal. It works so well that instead of chopping off their heads, the king actually rewards them. Jitman gets 400 rupees, and Gore gets a whopping 500 rupees, all for their incredible devotion to the bull. I mean, can you believe it? So why is this clever story so important? Well, because it's so much more than just a trick. It's a powerful and biting critique of the entire feudal system of the time. Think about the two realities here. On one hand, you have the bull's life. This animal has a thick mattress, gets fed fine rice and lentils, and even has servants fanning it. And then you have the humans. They're sleeping on straw, living in constant fear of being beheaded and forced to flatter their way through life just to stay alive. It's a stark, brutal contrast. So the core themes are pretty clear. You've got this biting satire on feudalism, the dehumanization of common people, and this whole culture of chikari, that sycophancy. But you know what? It also really highlights the power of wit and the sheer will to survive. So, after all this absurdity and high-stakes drama, why does the bull endure? What's the play's lasting message that we should take away from all this? Well, at its heart, it's a masterclass in survival and satire. It really shows how cleverness and quick thinking can be used to fight back against a totally irrational system. It's all about the common person using their wits to overcome incredible odds, a powerful tribute to resilience. And hey, just to help you out, here's some vocabulary from the play. We've talked about chikari, which is that extreme flattery. Baje is a respectful term, kind of like for grandfather. Convoy is just a procession, like the king's entourage. And carrion, well, that's just the dead body of an animal. So, let me leave you with this question. This play might be set a few hundred years ago, but where do we see these same systems of power and flattery playing out in our own lives today? It's something to think about, isn't it?